Hello Saveter, welcome to your replay analysis. Today we're going to be looking at three main aspects of the 2-1 games that I just watched. First of all, we're going to be talking about your lack of confidence with low boost, especially on defense. And next up, we're going to be tackling your habits playing into the opponent, playing the ball into the opponent, which gives your opponent an easier time challenging you. And the last point is going to be talking about movement, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about your low boost game. And for that, let's get into the games. Okay, here we are in game one. This is the 4-1 win, I believe. And we're going to start off right kickoff, and you find yourself on defense with low boost. Now the opponent's essentially giving you the ball. He has boost domination, he has the boost advantage, and you're panicking a lot. You're very jumpy, you're not very in control of the ball, and this gives your opponent an easy time challenge you and winning those balls against you. He cannot capitalize off of it, but he could have. Like, if you rank up just a bit more, and if your opponent's got a little bit more control of the ball, he will be able to challenge you a lot better. And here again, you're like very, very patient, which is fine. You're picking up the small pads, that's okay. And then finally, you now get the big boost, and you can break out of defense. To be fair, you get out of defense relatively well. You get a quick shot on target, and you're up 1-0. However, this entire section beforehand was very sloppy, very rough, so let's break it down. Okay, so this situation right here is essentially the key situation that I want to be talking about. So, essentially, in most cases, your opponent is not going to challenge you right here. He's essentially going to wait, maybe he'll place you and he can just tap it in, or he's going to fake challenge and hope you're going to give the ball away. Some players might challenge, but most of them will not. And I think you underestimate your ability right here to take control of the situation. Not just control of the ball, but of the situation. Because your opponent, he cannot see how much boost you have and how much boost you actually need in order to make a good play. And that's your advantage. What I see very often is players with low boost not having the confidence to actually make something happen and falling into that mindset of, okay, I have low boost, I need to get the ball out of defense as fast as possible. And we want to break through that, right? If you have low boost here, what you really want to be doing is, because he gives you the ball, is essentially just stay behind the ball. Because he is going to turn away. If he's trying to challenge, he's in an awkward angle. He's going to turn in like this, right? Then you can just play it around him very easily. But he's going to fake challenge. That's what he's most likely going to do. If you can take control of the situation, he's going to drive like this, and then he's going to turn out and shadow defend you. That's what his plan is, essentially. So if you can take control of the ball, dribble the ball, and then flick the ball on offense, he's going to need to waste boost and his positioning to save the ball. In the meantime, you can collect the mid boost or the back corner boost, depending on how far you can push up. So I really want you to invest more time, more effort into be more confident in yourself on defense when you have low boost. When you're full boost, obviously you can you have the ability to challenge a lot and recover really fast because you have the boost to accelerate. But when you have low boost, you're usually panicking a lot, which is something very common, so don't be too mad about that. But if you can actually manage to get more confidence in yourself and take control of the situations on defense with low boost, you're going to be defending your goal a lot better, because your opponent is very clueless of what he needs to do in order to outplay you, right? He needs to risk a lot more, and if he needs to risk a lot more, he opens up on defense a lot more, which is good for you. All right, so to emphasize this point a little bit better, let's hop into the second game. Okay, here we are in the second game. You have just conceded, but you're up 2-1 in the game. And this is right off kickoff, so it's not directly on defense. The ball bounces very high, and you flick it into the opponent's half, and he gets in control of the ball immediately. Now, you might be wondering what you could have done differently here, because you have no boost. You cannot possibly start a flick or an air dribble bump. I see you go for air dribble bumps a lot, which is a good weapon to have in your arsenal. But obviously you gotta be able to do a lot with zero boost and low boost as well, because most of the times, or many times in once, you're going to be starved and you still need to make a play happen, right? So what is so wrong about this play, in my opinion? First of all, you don't have a good angle to the play, which means the goal is right here and you point into this direction. So what I mean by that is that you're pointing into this direction, but the goal is right here. So you essentially have a 90-degree angle to get towards the goal. And when you play once, you usually want to put the ball towards the goal more often. Obviously in twos and threes you can take more control of the ball, but in ones you want to put the ball on target a lot more, because you can test your opponent, starve their boost, and in the meantime when they're about to do the save, you can pick up their boost and then recover and cut back inside, right? But that's not what you do. You are flicking the ball right here, and he can take control of the ball, right? Even if you put the ball into the corner, he would have taken that boost as well, and he would have been in control of the ball. You would have had zero boost, and you would have had to retreat. So you're not in a very good position. Your advantage is right here that he's still going for the boost. He hasn't grabbed the boost yet. So you still have the time to make this turn, grab this boost pad and turn into the ball, so that he's right here and you have a straight shot towards target. Okay, if your opponent at that point in time when you do the flick was already turning around, I can totally understand why you're trying to flick to play him. But that's not what's happening. So you need to be aware of your opponent in this situation. If you are in this position, you might be able to get a shot on target and actually score. But if you are not sure, or if you, let's put it this way, if you're not 100% sure that you can actually score, I don't want you to put it just straight on target if you have zero boost, because that makes it very easy for the opponent to save it and guide it towards the corner and recover very quickly, right? The main reason why you want to take possession of this ball is to save yourself time to collect boost, which means the ball will bounce probably one more time like this, high enough, get underneath here and flick the ball towards goal just as high as possible, right? Because then he will travel back, he will be very panicky because the ball is above him and he doesn't know where you are, whether or not you're committing. In the meantime, you can collect all those pads, and if he panics and puts the ball towards the corner, you are faster than him to the corner because you stayed on the ground, right? And then you can start your attack because you have full boost. Okay, so take control of the ball, get this boost pad, and then flick it high, force him to make a save, and in the meantime, when he's going to do the save, you can grab the corner boost, but only grab the corner boost if the ball's actually going to go towards the corners. If the ball is bouncing middle, obviously you need to take possession of the ball and maybe take it back to your own corner, because if you're then going to that corner, he has a free shot on target. So I hope this all makes sense and you can take a little bit more time, a little bit more control of the situation with zero boost in the future. Now let's get into the next point of you having the habit playing into the opponent. All right, next game, here we are. You're up 2 on this game. You messed up the kickoff a little bit, but you get a bump to make up for it, and you actually take possession and control of the ball. You have full boost. Now you have a counter-attack, and you give up the ball very easily. Not just is it a bad flick, it is also straight into the opponent, which makes it easy for him to take possession of the ball. However, you manage to get back out of defense, so you still get away with that. However, I still don't think it's a great play. Now what can you actually do here? Obviously you could have been in control much better, but I think you know that this could have been a much better flick. But let's just assume that you're not capable of taking control of the ball in time, so the ball gets off of your roof very quickly and you cannot get it back on to get a flick or something to outplay him, so you're forced into a play where the ball is on the ground and you cannot flick the ball high or anything. So essentially what's happening here, the opponent is pushing towards that side of the pitch. So option number 1 is you getting a power slide cut on the inside and play it in behind him. And once you can always outplay your opponent if you play in the spot behind your opponent. Makes it very easy for you. Plus, if you cut inside the ball, right, the ball is coming from here and you cut inside and change its direction, it's going to bounce. And if it's going to bounce, you can then get underneath the ball and flick it or dribble it, whatever you want to go for. Another option is pretty simple. It's just go for a 50, but not a 50 that you might be thinking about right now. You have your opponent challenging in like this, and the ball's gonna roll like this, right? Most players would just challenge the ball like this, so they're covering their goal essentially, which per se is a decent thought because you're defending your goal, but you're not getting anything out of the 50. And you actually have the potential in this situation to get a lot out of this 50. There are two options. Either a direct outplay, or you continue your attack more slowly, more patiently. Let's start with the patient approach. So he's going to 50 like that, and you're not going to drive in straight, but you're actually going to drive in like this. Show him like the side of your car right here. Because that way, you're going to redirect the ball into this part of the pitch. He's going to recover in this part of the area. He's going to rotate back like this, and you can grab that boost, and then you can continue your attack, but much further up the pitch, right? You can then take this boost, and he's coming in from here. He's in a much worse position to defend now. So when you play once, don't just think about the first attack that needs to be the perfect outplay. It just can be a setup for a continuation of your attack. So this would be the first option. Show him the side of your car and force the ball into this direction and grab this boost. This boost after this challenge needs to be top priority. It doesn't matter if the ball bounces in like this or something, just get this boost to take control of the situation, because he's going to waste boost with this challenge and recovering from this challenge. So grabbing this boost gives you a big boost advantage. All right, next situation is going to be a lot more aggressive, but it can also be pretty deadly for the opponent, because it is an outplay that doesn't require much risk from you, but you need to be able to read the opponent and how the opponent's going to challenge really well. So it might require a lot of game sense and a lot of experience in once. But if you get into that, you can develop that game sense pretty quickly. You just need to pay attention to it. So what's happening? The opponent's still challenging like this. The ball's going to bounce like this or roll like this. And what I want you to do is right before the opponent is challenging, turn away from the opponent like this. It sounds like counterintuitive because you're essentially giving away the ball, but during that turning away, you need to stay behind the ball all of the time, because then what happens is he's going to shoot it into you, and then the ball is going to bounce like this. And then you can recover like this and either immediately shoot it, or if you cannot get back in time, grab this boost right here and then shoot the ball from here, right? But this move requires you to actually move away from the play, because if you're too close to the play, like if you're fishing like that, the ball's going to be dead center somewhere, or it can pinch somewhere else. So it actually requires you to get some distance behind the ball, so the ball can then actually bounce off of you. It's the same principle as a delayed kickoff, for example, where one challenge is very early and then the ball bounces in the exact opposite direction. You can use that, but it's difficult to apply. But if you practice that just a little bit, you can get good at it very quickly, especially because the opponents on your level will most likely just challenge very frontally, if that makes sense. So this is a very good tool to have in your pocket to outplay your opponents. Okay, here we are. We are now talking about your movement, and specifically that you are very jumpy, as I've noticed. And the first example is going to be here. You have control of the ball and the boost, that you jump into the play, which then gives your opponent essentially an open net, but he is missing it. But still, it should have been a goal for the opponent. And not because you pushed into this corner. It is actually very good that you pushed into this corner to get this boost. But you don't need to jump into the ball. If you jump into the ball's going to bounce straight middle, very easy for him to pick up. You need to take control of the ball, let the ball roll up the wall, and then either go for a solo play, or if the opponent's challenging it, let him challenge it. He's zero boost. Just fake challenge and get back, and you have possession of the ball. But by you jumping here, especially in the opponent's corner, that's going to be very dangerous. Whenever you're jumping and overcommitting by that in the opponent's corner, you're in trouble, always. Doesn't matter if it's 2s or 3s or 1s, all of the time. So be more patient with that. Obviously in 1s it's much more detrimental than in 3s. So really pay attention to that. That is really, really important, because you have full control in this situation and you're giving the control away very quickly just by you jumping, right? It's not his skill or a lucky bounce or anything that's helping your opponent. It's just you jumping. That's all it is. So if that's all it is, it's actually very easy for you to solve these situations. So look up to that. I get you 2 more examples of your jumping habit. Okay, here we are. Next situation. Again, opponent's corner. You have again full control of the situation, full boost. You still jump, and you're very lucky that the opponent doesn't have 1 or 2 pads, because then this would have been an open net as well. You're in perfect position here, right? You're turning inside. He either cuts inside, goes directly to your goal, and then you can beat him because you're further up the field, or he goes in behind you up the wall, but then he's much slower and you can essentially go back and recover very quickly. But by you jumping here, he outplays you very easily, right? If you just remained on the ground here, he would have still been in control of the ball, but you would have been able to shadow defend him, and then you could have challenged him if you wanted to, or force the ball off of him. But because you jumped, you gave the ball away very quickly, and it was very dangerous for you as well, but you were just very lucky in that scenario. Okay, so let's get into the last example of this. Okay, next situation. Again, you're in the opponent's half. You just grab the big boost, you're in control of the situation, and you challenge, and that's finally the opponent's actually scoring off of your mistake 3 times. The charm. Again, nothing much to say here, but you essentially overcommit a lot, right? So how can you solve the scenario? Essentially, you need to position yourself in a way that you did just in an example before. So rather than him going in a straight line, challenging him like this, just cut inside and face this way. Face inside. I know it's 3-3 and you really want to score, but you're in advantage now. Play it out patiently. If you're in the opponent's corner, you're not going to create any danger unless you're risking a lot, and I don't want you to risk a lot when the opponent's in good position to challenge you. Just cut inside like this, because then either he's going to take time and he's going to be very slow out of defense and you can shadow defend him very easily, or he's going to panic the ball out and then you have control of the ball because you're further up the pitch and you can just dribble it out, cut inside, or get it back into your own corner. But by challenging like this, frontally and jumping, you're giving the ball away very quickly, and this time your opponent, as I said, finally punishes you for your mistake that you have been doing a lot in this game. Okay, so here we are. That is it for the analysis of your 1's gameplay. As I said, number 1 point is your lack of confidence with low boost, especially on defense, but also in the midfield after kickoff. Then your habit playing into the opponent, you can definitely work on that. And then what cost you the win in that last game was definitely your movement, specifically your jumping, unnecessary committing for the ball, especially in the opponent's corner. You never want to do that. So if you can take those things and work on these things bit by bit, don't focus on all 3 of them at the same time. It's just going to confuse you. Just pick one of those things, focus on that, work on that, and then get into the next point that I mentioned. And if you want to increase your awareness for these situations, take any other random 1v1 gameplay of yours and try to identify those 3 mistakes that I pointed out in those replays. That helps you to learn to identify those scenarios much quicker. So if you have any questions about all of those things, feel free to ask me in the comments or on Discord. I'm always happy to help, and good luck with your grind and your practice.